What destroys most men is not their enemies, but their affections. While they hesitate to strike, the world sharpens its knife. In this video, we will dismantle the dangerous illusion that love is sacred above strategy, and reveal why becoming cold-blooded, even with those closest to you, is not cruelty but survival. Men wish to be loved, but fear, not love, governs the affairs of the powerful. In the theater of power, sentiment is a luxury afforded only to the weak. The prince who hesitates to harden his heart invites betrayal in velvet gloves. This is not a call to cruelty for its own sake, but a revelation that in a world ruled by shifting loyalties, strategic detachment is the highest form of wisdom. If you wish to rise, endure, and command, you must learn to cut ties not only with others, but with your own illusions. They tell you that love is a virtue, that loyalty from those closest to you is sacred, that affection, especially from family, lovers, and long-time allies, is a bond that should never be questioned. But let me ask you this: who betrayed Caesar? Was it an enemy? A rival? No. It was Brutus, the man he trusted like a son. This is not history's exception, it is its pattern. You see, affection, when left unguarded, becomes the oldest blindfold worn by those too noble to suspect betrayal, and the world punishes such nobility with daggers aimed at the back. Think carefully. How many times have you ignored red flags because the person waving them once held your hand? How often have you silenced your instincts because you feared hurting someone who wouldn't hesitate to hurt you? The great flaw of good men is that they assume affection is symmetrical, that because they feel love, it will be returned in equal measure. This is a fantasy, a dangerous one. In power as in war, the most lethal enemy is the one inside your own gates, not because they strike with greater force, but because you let them in. You armed them with your secrets. You trained them in your patterns. You gave them the map to your weakness and called it trust. And when the knife came, you were surprised. But why? Let us descend deeper. Psychologists call this emotional confirmation bias. You interpret actions through the lens of your bond. You excuse deception. You reinterpret betrayal as just a misunderstanding. You cling to the idea that loyalty is automatic, a byproduct of time spent or blood shared. But this is not the truth of human nature. Human nature is transactional, opportunistic, and shifting. Loyalty lasts only as long as it aligns with someone's self-interest. When it no longer serves them, affection curdles into resentment, and those who once praised you will come to feel entitled to your fall. Do you understand what this means? It means that your closest allies must be observed more keenly than your enemies, because enemies declare themselves, but loved ones lie with smiles. Look at the ancient kings. How many were toppled by brothers? How many lost their thrones not to war, but to marriage alliances turned sour, to heirs poisoned by ambition, to mistresses whispering state secrets to rivals? They ruled empires, yet forgot to rule their hearts. And for that, they paid in blood. The man who rules effectively, whether over a kingdom or over himself, must begin by removing the blindfold. He must study affection like a weapon. What is it used for? Who wields it with intent? Who offers it freely, and who attaches strings? You are not told to abandon love, but to control it, to see it not as sacred, but as strategic. Ask yourself, if this person were not tied to me by emotion, would I still trust them? If they had something to gain from my downfall, would they hesitate? If you cannot answer with certainty, then you already know the truth. You're simply afraid to face it. This fear, the reluctance to confront betrayal from those we love, is what makes us predictable. Predictable men are easy to corner, easy to destroy. A true strategist becomes dangerous not because he loves no one, but because he refuses to need anyone blindly. He sees love, loyalty, trust, all of it, as elements on a chessboard. He uses them. He rewards them. But he never lets them cloud the move he must make. You must learn to do the same. It begins by replacing assumption with observation. Replace comfort with vigilance. Measure others not by their words, not by their warmth, but by their patterns, their choices, and most importantly, by what they do when they think you're not watching. Because that is who they really are. You will lose people this way. And that's the point. Better to cut ties by choice than to be strangled by them later. Now, if this has disturbed you, good. Discomfort is the first step toward power. But the path is not yet complete. You've seen how affection blinds. Next, you must learn what clears the fog: emotional detachment. Because he who feels less sees more. And that is where your control begins. Power does not belong to the strongest. It belongs to the least attached. Why? Because the man who feels too much cannot see clearly. Emotion is a fog. Comforting, familiar, and blinding. You were taught that feeling deeply makes you human. That expressing emotion makes you honest. That reacting with passion shows you care. But let me ask you, who benefits when you react? Who gains when your pulse rises? Your face reveals what your mouth won't say. Not you. The moment you are pulled by emotion, you cease to be the one pulling strings. You become the puppet. Understand this. Control begins with the refusal to be controlled internally. Before you can lead others, you must first master yourself. And no enemy is more cunning, more persuasive, more ever present than your own feelings. Look around. People walk into traps not because they're stupid, but because they're emotionally predictable. They lash out when insulted. They cling when loved. They retreat when hurt. Their behavior can be forecast like weather, and if you can be predicted, you can be played. Detachment is not coldness. It is clarity. It is the discipline of holding your feelings in your hand, not your chest. Of noticing them, without obeying them. Think of a general in battle. If he panics, his troops scatter. If he grows sentimental, he spares the wrong man. If he rejoices too soon, he misses the flank. Victory belongs to the commander who feels nothing but sees everything. This principle applies not just in war, but in conversation, negotiation, and relationships. The emotionally reactive person will always be manipulated by the emotionally strategic one. Consider the case of Cardinal Richelieu. A man of cloth, yet one of the most cunning political minds in Europe. He ruled behind kings, manipulated noble families, and silenced entire courts. How? Because he understood that the more calmly one observes others, the more predictably they reveal themselves. He provoked rivals into passion while he remained still. They screamed. He listened. They attacked blindly. He struck with precision. Now ask yourself, when was the last time someone baited you into reacting? A message you shouldn't have answered, but did. A betrayal you took personally, and showed it. A confrontation where your tone betrayed your weakness before your words even formed. You must stop bleeding emotion in public. Your inner world is your castle. Do not let intruders see its layout. Most people wear their hearts on their sleeves, then wonder why they're targeted. Keep yours in your chest. Locked. Not absent. Just inaccessible. And yet, many will fear this. They'll say, "But won't I become less human?" To that I ask, what has your humanity cost you so far? Were you not more manipulated when you were more emotional? Didn't people lie to your heart more easily when it ruled your head? True strength is not becoming emotionless. It is becoming immune to emotional command. You can still love, still grieve, still celebrate, but you do so by choice, not impulse. This is the discipline of rulers, of strategists, of survivors, even the Stoics, often misinterpreted as soft philosophers. were warriors of the mind. They trained themselves to feel fully and react rarely. They knew control of the self is the first kingdom a man must conquer. And yet today, emotional exposure is glamorized. You're told to speak your truth, show your pain, cry it out. But remember, what you reveal becomes your vulnerability. And in a world where advantage is currency, you don't give away your wallet in the marketplace. Detachment sharpens vision. It gives you space to think while others drown in reaction. You become unreadable, and thus unplayable. You don't disappear, you rise above. Observe without absorption. Feel without collapse. Speak without leaking your soul. Because when you master this state, others begin to orbit around your calm. And in that orbit is influence. Now, what happens when you no longer react, but others still expect you to? That is where manipulation begins. Not theirs, yours. And it is the subject of our next step, the kindness that kills. Let me ask you something. When someone compliments you, do you ever stop to wonder why? When they offer help unasked, do you question what they stand to gain? Or do you, like most, surrender to the warmth, letting it disarm you before you've even assessed the situation? This is the flaw of the untrained mind. It assumes that kindness is innocent, but in the realm of power, very little is. A smile can be a tool, a gift can be a bribe, and kindness, the most beautiful mask cruelty can wear. Consider the Trojan horse, a gesture of peace, a monument to surrender, and yet it was filled with death, an offering of mercy that opened the gates to ruin. So too in modern life, people offer emotional gifts, compliments, affection, assistance, but rarely for free. They offer you relief so you drop your guard. They validate you so they gain influence. They praise you so they can later ask you for something, when saying no would feel like betrayal. That is how you are bound, not with chains, but with favors. Now, should you reject all kindness? No. That would be foolish. But you must read it, not receive it blindly. The predator doesn't always approach with fangs bared. Often, they come bearing warmth. Because warmth lowers your defenses faster than force. This is a tactic as old as empires. Look to Queen Catherine de' Medici. She played host to her enemies, wined them, charmed them, welcomed them into court. And once they were comfortable, once they believed themselves untouchable, she dismantled their power piece by piece. No violence, no threats, just strategic kindness, timed to perfection. Her rivals drowned in velvet, never seeing the silk was soaked in blood. Now reflect. How many times have you trusted someone simply because they were nice? How many times have you assumed they'd never do that because their tone was soft or their face was kind? Understand this: tone is a tool. Charm is a weapon. And the more skilled the manipulator, the more benevolent they appear. Ask any con artist. They don't win trust by demanding it. They earn it through carefully orchestrated warmth. First, they compliment you. Then, they mirror your thoughts. Next, they create a sense of connection. And before long, they have your confidence and your compliance. Psychology calls this reciprocity bias, the innate human tendency to return favors. Once someone gives you something, even a kind word, you feel indebted. And they know it. The strategic operator uses this bias like a lever. They do small things to earn big access. They offer harmless help only to later demand loyalty, silence, or secrets. This is not friendship. It is a transaction. So how do you protect yourself? By adopting the mindset of a ruler, not a servant. By asking, what does this person gain from being kind to me? By refusing to equate softness with safety. True control lies in observation without surrender. You can accept kindness, but you must log it. Track patterns. Identify timing. Look not just at what they give, but when they give it. And most of all, what happens when you say no? Because the truly manipulative soul becomes cold the moment you stop being useful. That's your test. When your value fades, does their warmth remain? If not, it was never kindness. It was investment. Now, you may feel tempted to adopt this strategy yourself, and you should. A man who cannot smile strategically will be devoured by those who can. Your warmth must be calculated. Your compliments must serve your long game. Your generosity must build debt, not goodwill. It is not evil. It is efficient. Do not waste kindness on those who cannot repay it. Do not distribute praise without purpose. Use softness as a sculptor uses a chisel to shape behavior subtly but precisely. For in the end, it is not the loudest voice that commands loyalty. It is the most useful presence. Be that presence. Be the smile they fear to lose. And now that you understand how kindness can be wielded as a blade, let's examine how betrayal can be sharpened into strategy. There will come a moment in your life, not once, but many times, when you must choose loyalty or survival. Most will hesitate. They will cling to sentimental notions of honor and faithfulness. And for that, they will fall. You will not, because you will understand what they do not. That betrayal, when executed with precision, is not sin. It is strategy. Let's begin by dismantling the illusion. You were taught that betrayal is the lowest act. But who taught you that? Those in power, who fear being betrayed. They trained you to equate disloyalty with evil because your obedience benefits them. Not you. But ask yourself, would they show you the same loyalty if their throne depended on cutting you down? The answer is no. History is not written by the loyal. It is written by the victors. And many of them wore the cloak of betrayal when the moment demanded it. Julius Caesar rose because he betrayed the Senate. Napoleon crowned himself because he betrayed the Republic. The Medicis reclaimed Florence by betraying the very families who sheltered them in exile. And yet, we do not remember them as villains. We remember them as rulers. Why? Because betrayal, when timed correctly, rewrites the story. Now understand this, not all betrayal is brutal. Some of the most effective betrayals are silent. You withdraw your support. You withhold your information. You stop protecting someone and let gravity do the rest. This is tactical betrayal, not fueled by anger, but guided by gain. You do not burn bridges. You redesign them and decide who crosses. The untrained mind sees betrayal as a spontaneous act, born of rage or hurt. But the strategist knows. Betrayal must be planned. It is not about vengeance. It is about timing. And timing is everything. A betrayal done too soon creates enemies. Too late, and the opportunity is gone. But done precisely, when their usefulness has expired and your rise demands a rupture. It is the cleanest move on the board. Ask yourself, who around you only holds value because you're afraid to let them go? Who would weigh you down in a crisis? Who would hesitate to betray you if your weakness served their interest? These are not friends. They are liabilities, and a ruler who refuses to cut his liabilities eventually bleeds for them. Even in modern life, business, politics, relationships, the rules remain unchanged. Companies pivot. Politicians distance. Friends grow apart. These are all polite terms for betrayal dressed in diplomacy. Make no mistake. They are acts of power, and those who survive the longest are those who execute them well. So how do you betray strategically? First, make sure the betrayal serves a larger purpose. It must create space, elevate position, or remove a threat. Second, minimize the drama. The most effective betrayals happen in silence. No declarations, no arguments. Just absence. Just repositioning. Third, never betray upward. Do not strike at those more powerful unless you are certain of victory. Tactical betrayal flows downward or sideways. eliminating weak links and closing dangerous openings. Fourth, expect retaliation. Even a soft betrayal leaves scars, so prepare for counterattacks or ensure your move cripples their ability to respond. You will be called ruthless. Let them speak. They always do, after they've been outplayed. But here lies the deepest layer. Sometimes the person you must betray is your former self, the version of you that tolerated too much, that stayed loyal to the unworthy, that hesitated when the knife should have dropped. That version is your final anchor. Cut it. You will feel guilt. That's normal. It means you had empathy, but power is not sustained by empathy alone. It is sustained by discernment. Betrayal without cause is foolish, but betrayal with purpose, betrayal that clears your path, is not cruelty. It is correction. You do not owe loyalty to those who stand in the way of your evolution. And if you understand this, then you are ready for what comes next. Not just defending power, but manipulating perception. Because controlling what others believe about you is the greatest weapon of all. Power is not taken by force alone. The most complete control is invisible. When they obey you willingly, when they defend your interests, thinking they're defending their own, that is mastery. You do not need chains, you need beliefs. Give them stories, feed them meaning, let them feel free, while steering every move they make. They must never suspect the hand that guides them. Only the fool shows his power. The wise man wraps it in silence, charm, and necessity. Now ask yourself, are you still trying to convince people? Or have you begun orchestrating them? If you understand this shift, you are no longer playing the game. You are designing it. So now I turn to Yug. What manipulation have you witnessed hidden behind kindness? What move are you planning next? Leave your thoughts below. But remember, the sharpest minds speak with precision. Subscribe if you seek strategies most dare not teach. And share this video, not to enlighten, but to recruit those ready to rise. Until next time, stay unreadable.